Hello everyone, it's Shannon here for Hero Arts. In today's video, we are going to create this autumn shaker featuring elements from the Classic and Premium September My Monthly Hero kits. First, we'll start with the coordinating fall window die, which is a part of both the Classic and Premium kits. And I am then going to die cut this A2 panel of Sand Hero Hues cardstock with this fall window die. Once I run it through, I'll then pop out that large negative piece or that window open piece. I'm going to save that and use that for later. And then I'll pop out any remaining negative pieces. Now we'll move on to the color layering stencils, which again is in both kits. Each stencil is labeled A, B, C. We're going to start with stencil A, line it up to our die cut image. Once I have it all lined up, I then am going to ink blend. I'm starting with a very light color. I'm actually going to ink blend with sand, and we're going to ink blend all of the mushrooms, the stalks, and any part of the mushrooms with this brown, really brown, or light brown, I guess, or tan. Then we'll move on to spicy mustard and ink blend all of the leaves in this stencil. Once we finish with that spicy mustard, we'll then move on to forever green and just ink blend a little portion of the leaves to kind of create this gradation over them so they look like they are green leaves starting to change starting to get their fall colors. I am trying to be careful here and try to avoid the mushrooms, but if I get a little green or a little yellow on the mushrooms, it's okay because this is a wreath of organic material, which isn't always just one color anyways. So now I've lined up stencil B, and we are going to start by ink blending with Cup of Joe all of the leaf veins and stems. Now there's two kinds of leaves in this stencil. Some leaves that are more open, we will ink blend those after we do the stems and leaves for the other leaves. I'm also ink blending the mushrooms with this Cup of Joe and that pine cone on the left with that Cup of Joe. Once I finish with that, I need to clean my stencil really quick, so I have a dry cloth, just wiped it off. Don't want to cross-contaminate here my lighter inks, which we're starting first with spicy mustard, ink blending all of the leaves with that spicy or that yellow. If you get any of the yellow on the brown, doesn't really matter because that Cup of Joe is such a dark brown. Now we're moving on to pumpkin, and we're going to create a little gradation over all of our leaves with this pumpkin color. We're really starting to get into our fall leaves here, really make these leaves look like they've changed color. And then we'll finish with a little bit of cranberry, just a tiny bit on the edges of the leaves. Don't want to get too much red on these leaves here because we are going to do much more red in the next stencil. So I remove stencil B, and now we're on to stencil C. So go ahead and line that up with my die cut image. This one is mainly for the mushroom tops, and you do have some stems and veins for some of the leaves as well, but we're starting here with cranberry again and ink blending all the mushroom tops and any open leaves. We're going to ink blend those with that red. Then we'll finish up with espresso, so a dark brown. Ink blend that pine cone, the acorn top, as well as any remaining stems and leaf veins that you might see in this stencil. And we're just about done here. And I'm going to go ahead and remove the stencil and hold up our beautiful ink blended wreath of fall leaves and mushrooms and pine cones and acorns. Just so pretty. Now we're going to move on to this Autumn Critters stamp and die set. Now this is part of the premium kit. We're only going to use these leaf and mushroom dies here from that kit. These don't actually line up to any of this image in the stamp set. They're more kind of standalone dies, and I went ahead and die cut them twice, or two of each of the leaves and mushrooms out of that remaining portion of sand. Now I'm just ink blending them in the same kind of inks or same colored inks that we used for the wreath. And I started by ink blending the mushrooms in sand. Then I moved on to ink blending some of the leaves in spicy mustard. I actually ink blended all of the leaves except for the smallest pair and that spicy mustard. Then grabbed pumpkin and added some gradations to some of the leaves with pumpkin. Then grabbed cranberry and kind of continued that gradation, colored the smallest pair completely with cranberry, and then I am also going to color the tops of our mushrooms with that cranberry as well. So this is basically pretty much exactly how we colored the images in our reef earlier. Finished up these last two leaves with a little bit of forever green, and now we are done with those standalone die cuts. We're going to actually use those in our shaker. So I grabbed a sentiment here from the Fall Sentiments stamp set, which is included in both kits. Stamped it in embossing watermark ink onto black cardstock. Now I'm just dipping it into some gold embossing powder. Then I will, of course, heat set with my heat tool. Then off camera, I went ahead and trimmed it down to a sentiment strip, and we are basically ready now to put our shaker card together. I'm going to start by adhering an A2 panel of acetate to the backside of our foliage frame. Once I added some of Hero Art's premium adhesive to the panel, I am then going to stick it onto that acetate panel, and then I'll push it off to the side. I like to kind of weight it with my platform for my die cutting machine. That really makes sure it gets a good seal with that liquid adhesive to the acetate. Then for the card front, I'm going to kind of build up my well here for my shaker with foam adhesive. And once I finish with that well, I am then going to fill it with some sequins from this champagne sequins mix. But I didn't want any of the white or kind of clear sequins, so I'm just removing those. There are these little kind of iridescent stars. I kept those, and the gold sequins, of course, as well. Now that I've removed that sequence that I don't want, I'm going to add my standalone leaves and mushrooms that I ink blended, pop them into my well. Then I will grab my panel, my top panel, and I decided I wanted to ink blend the edges real quick, so I grabbed some sand core ink and just ink blended all the corners a little bit with that sand, and that really does add such a richness to that card front. Now I'm ready to adhere that panel on, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the backing on all my foam adhesive that's created my well. And once I get that removed, I'll then grab my panel and just line it up and stick it on top. And I do find it's very helpful to stand up when you do this. It makes it easier to get it lined up. And that will seal up our shaker so it's ready to go. And then the last thing I'm going to do is just remove the backing of foam adhesive on my sentiment strip and just kind of center it over that windowed opening and stick it down, and that will complete our autumn shaker card. Hold up to the camera here so you can get a good look at this fun, really pretty shaker card. I love our fall reef. It has beautiful transitions between colors. It really looks like realistic fall foliage. And inside our shaker card, we were able to fill with some matching leaves thanks to the dies included in the premium kit. And I think everything is finished off nicely with that bold gold sentiment using the sentiment stamp set in the kits. I hope you guys enjoyed today's card and video. If you have any questions about the products I use, please check out the links below in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.